Hey everyone, this is Chris. I just wanted to give a quick particular shout out to Christian Dobson. He's been on the podcast a couple times. He's a lifelong friend, and he is also the editor of today's episode. Just due to some life stuff, I wasn't able to get to it, and Christian very generously offered and stepped up and did a terrific job, especially because the audio, Mike and I had some audio issues. There was some lag between us and all that, and Christian did a fantastic job. So I just wanted to shout him out at the top of this. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, and God bless, my friends. Take care. Hey everyone, this is Chris, and you're listening to One Cross Radio, and today we are joined by Mike The Dumptruck Naulls. Mike, how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm the dumpster.
I really think Christian's onto something, that you and I could have a morning radio show with the nicknames he has given us. It could be fun.
Big Sexy in the Dumpster.
Big Sexy in the Dumpster.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be back to our Bulldog radio days, sir.
Oh, yeah. Wow, memories.
Fun memories. I just remembered because
I feel like I never reached my potential with that.
Well, it was so funny because I kept it going a year. I kept doing it the year after you graduated. And at that point, I was just like, I'm just not going to care. I'm just going to basically, I'm just going to zero prep and play what I want, within the parameters. Where it's like, all right, today we're doing a History of Metal episode, because why the heck not? And this week we're doing Public Enemy because it's Public Enemy. They're awesome. And then I just also, because it's dirt cold outside, had the great memory of the time I just missed the bus and you saw me chase it for a block and a half.
Every time we would be at a stop, and then you would catch up, and just as you got off the bus, would go again. I love watching you suffer.
Well, it's ever since that experience that whenever I see people running for the bus, that it makes me laugh. I'm like, I've been there and it sucks.
Well, yeah, it's really cold. I don't mean the temperature, but I was watching, or was sitting at the lights last night, and this bus is sitting there, and this woman's running up, and just as she got there, the bus moved to get through the last 2 seconds of the light. Really?
Well, it's I legit think at times that the bus drivers don't see, and then pressures for schedules and blah blah blah. But it's you feel bad for the person, but it's also I've been there. To me, it's funny.
Yeah.
Just that shocked expression on your face, but I see the laughter forming behind it. And I'm just like, oh, you monster. Mike, tell them I'm running. You could have stopped this.
I could have. Hey, there's a guy running for the bus. Hit the gas.
Oh my gosh. All right, so on to the focus of today's episode. So today we are talking about where we would ranking the Star Wars franchise, with the exception of Rise of Skywalker, because as we record this, the movie drops officially tonight. The early screenings start, I think, around 8 or 9 or something. I'm seeing it Saturday.
I'm seeing it at 6:45.
Oh, nice. It's my work's Christmas party tonight, so the earliest Jill and I could get tickets for is Saturday. So we will be checking that out this Saturday. I'm kind of excited. It's been a journey, and that's why I really wanted to do this. And dear listener, I particularly want to shout out Mike for the second time, because like a fool, I realized 5 minutes into the first attempt of recording that I wasn't. The Mike impromptuly very impromptuly agreed to do this because inspiration struck this morning while I was walking Luna. And it's like, hey, Mike, can we do this morning? And can you download Google Hangout and record audio? Thanks, dude.
And you woke me up.
And I woke him up. So Mike is an absolute trooper and a wonderful friend. So Mike, thank you for being here.
Oh yeah,
and
no problem.
We bonded over Star Wars, so I always loved talking Star Wars with you. And generally, listener, as you know, when we do this, we go from worst / most disappointing to best or most enjoyable. And the reason I like doing that is because even as we're looking at films where like this was devastating or really disappointing, you can acknowledge the fact like, look, this was better made than one of the other movies. I just happen to enjoy that movie more. Yeah, and one thing this won't change, Rise of Skywalker's ranking won't change, is the fact that, or at least to me, the fact that the sequel trilogy is the most disappointing one. But we can unpack that as we go because we're on a little bit of a time crunch. So I'll start it off with there's been 11 Star Wars movies and one I completely forgot existed.
What was that one?
The Clone Wars movie, because it was the pilot for the show just on the big screen. And that movie came and went with a whimper. It was the first Star Wars movie I was like, I'm not going to go see that. No.
Yeah, I didn't bother.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
And then eventually I did watch it, and I'm like, this is terrible. But the show that eventually came out of it was excellent, and it kind of helped answer some of the issues a lot of people had with the prequels. But to me, it is still the bottom of the barrel, the absolute worst Star Wars movie. You can't include the holiday special because it's not a movie. That sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think George Lucas is still trying to erase it from existence.
Yeah, no.
But he will never beat the internet.
No. You can find like 4 copies on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's
all over.
Oh, yeah. No, it's one of those things where you're like, I would love to see... Part of me is curious enough to be like, can you do an HD release of this? Like, that's not just the grainy TV version? But at the same point, I'm like, I kind of want to see it, but I also watched it recently because it had been years, and I was like, okay, maybe it's not as bad as I remember it being. And then I got like 15 minutes into it, I was like, who thought this was okay? Why?
Yeah.
Like, a Wookiee's watching VR porn in the middle of the living room. There's no subtitles. They're just growling at each other. Who greenlit this?
Yeah. I have a copy on my computer, but I've never actually watched it. I can't bring myself to do it.
The first time I watched it, I had to watch it in parts. I was like so excited to watch it. And then I watched, because it's like 2 hours, and so much of it is just, what?
Yeah.
But so
it's Life Day.
It's Life Day, which I loved that reference in friggin' Mandalorian. And then you get, like, I got 45 minutes into it, I was like, I gotta stop. I need a break. And then after, like, 3 hours, I was like, okay, you know what, we're gonna finish this. And then the only good part out of it was friggin' the cartoon portion was cool.
Yeah.
Because it introduced Boba Fett, and then the gun that we see in The Mandalorian. And Carrie Fisher sings well. The songs, it's weird. Like, the cast is, with the exception of Harrison Ford, the primary cast is trying. Harrison Ford is well aware of what he's in, and you can tell he hates every second of it. It's just like, it's like, I'm forced to be here. Like, people can criticize his performance in Jedi. I don't. But people can be like, that's a man who's sleepwalking. I'm like, I don't think he's sleepwalking in there. And this, he's not sleepwalking. He's just like, let's get this done. So Clone Wars, back to the movies. Clone Wars was what it was. All right, Mike, what would you say is, so Clone Wars is at the bottom. What would you put as your number 10?
Last Jedi.
All right, interesting.
Once upon a time, I would probably have said Phantom Menace, but then Last Jedi happened. It's not a poorly made film.
Yeah.
Like, it's not CGI full, and it makes an attempt at the craft, but it ruins everything. Like the ball is set up, ready to punt and kick that field goal from like the easiest spot. I don't know football, but and it's a total miss. It should just be that one didn't happen. Let's try 8 again.
That's fair. I've got one before The Last Jedi. Last Jedi is probably my number 9. But it's like really, really close. For me, it's almost tied with Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones, I think I'd put at 10. But then Last Jedi, like I said, they're almost interchangeable. Yeah. It really depends on the day. Because to me, everything you said about The Last Jedi rings true. It is definitely better made than Attack of the Clones and arguably any of the prequel movies. Like, it visually looks better. It's not just the CGI fests. But, heck, they're having to undo stuff they did in the next movie. Say what you will about the Attack of the Clones, but they didn't undo anything. They didn't double down, but they didn't work. It's not like, okay, Luke Skywalker, like the lightsaber's back with no thing, and Kylo's rocking the helmet again, even though he broke it. The Last Jedi is really infuriating. Attack of the Clones, why I rank it so low is, to me, it is the most inconsequential of any of the movies. Like, it has a lot of really cool parts. As much as you'll rip on the dialogue, rightfully so. And as much as you can rip on some of the performances, rightfully so. The arena scene where Mace Windu shows up, really good. Yeah. The battle scenes, especially after they like shoot down the Trade Federation thing and it drops and it's just the lightsabers and the lasers in the sand, like, and the dust and everything look awesome. Ewan McGregor holds that flick together. If you take Ewan out of that movie, like, it is rough and it's already kind of sketchy. And it introduced some interesting things, but it is inconsequential in the fact, like, it sets up all this stuff that Revenge of the Sith kind of, it's like Dooku's set up in this movie, and then in the first like 15-20 minutes Dooku's killed, so it just moves forward. So it's just like, why get invested in the stuff that we saw in the last? I mean, it shows Anakin doing stuff, which is good, but then also you can make arguments of the structure of his whole thing. But it also didn't have stuff where you're just like, frig, I hated that.
Yeah, well, no, the thing is, like, at least Attack of the Clones continued the story. Yeah. It didn't just go its own way. There was an arc. There was a waypoint. There was, what's the word I'm looking for? There was a destination to get to, and Attack of the Clones continued that journey. Where
it gets you from A to B. Instead of like, hey, we're A, now we're the number 7, and now we're trying to jump back to B.
Last Jedi just took pretty much everything that was set up in Force Awakens and just said, well, that was nice, JJ, but how about this?
Yeah.
No. You see, we have a story here. And I think I've said this before on one of the previous podcasts I've been on, is that, you know, with all the previous Star Wars movies, like pre-Disney purchasing Lucasfilm, there was one guy basically controlling the entire story. So you could excuse losing direction. But when Disney bought it, there is a team of people. I imagine a big boardroom full of writers and experienced storytellers, and not one of them sat down and said, or stood up and said, no, this isn't, this is taking us off the course, or sat down ahead of time as a group and they said, okay, this is the story we're going to have. These are the characters. These are their arcs, and this is where they're going to end up. They must have done that, and if they didn't, why not? And what happened to the story that they did plan out?
Well, it's interesting because you hear a bunch of stuff, and the thing is, like, as much as I enjoy these conversations, and videos about it, because the theories and the ideas and people's opinions are all interesting, but then not like you have to take them with a grain of salt and not believe them, but you also have to keep in mind, like, how much is this person's interpretation in this. Like, you can read it, you can see an article where someone's like, JJ says The Last Jedi was a mistake, and then it's like quoting one specific part where he's like, okay, there might have been some stuff we shouldn't have done, but there was a lot of good. He might be like, there's a lot of good stuff, and it's like isolating on that one part. But I've read some stuff where they're like, okay, they might have had more of a planned story, but then they all got excited about what Ryan wanted to do, and they're like, you know what, let's just go with it. Which I kind of get, but that throws off the structure of, you're doing a trilogy. These things need to line up.
Yes. Well, on that note, well, maybe not on that note, but as a side note, Rian Johnson, like, he had proven himself. So I imagine, like, as a filmmaker, as a writer and director, he had proven himself to make good things. So, like, when I found out he was going to make the movie, I was so enthused. Like, this guy is going to crush it. He's going to do such a good job. But he crushed it in the Godzilla way, where he destroyed the city. And I had so much faith in him. Like, people were asking, like, oh, how do you think Rian Johnson's going to do? And, like, he's going to absolutely kill it. It's going to be such a solid movie. He's going to bring the emotion and the
thunder.
He's gonna make a good movie. The thunder. He's gonna bring the thunder. But he just, it's just so disappointing.
Yeah.
Like, the movie ended and it was just like, that was it? We didn't move anywhere.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy that.
Yeah.
I didn't get a really cool lightsaber battle. I thought about that the other day. Like, there was no, like, really cool lightsaber battle in that movie. There was Luke and Kylo, but that was more like a dance.
And there was Rey and friggin' Kylo, but that was still like them against a bunch of people without lightsabers.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that was that was the cool scene. Okay.
Yeah, it's like,
I enjoyed that. But.
It's like, I agree with you, and especially after
like, there's.
Sorry.
What? No, there was, people have analyzed that throne room scene and just pointed out how poorly choreographed it was. Like, you see guys in the background, guards in the background, just like waiting, like it's an old kung fu movie. Guys just waiting to get beat up.
There's just to further that segue, there's a great YouTube series where it's like VFX guys watch stuff and they comment on various special effects shots and all that.
Yeah, the Corridor Crew, right?
Yeah. And then they looked at The Dark Knight Rises, and then they showed something where it was supposed to be Batman or Catwoman, I think, throws something at like one of the Bane's henchmen in the background.
Yeah.
And they were clearly going to add something. Whoa! They were clearly going to add something in post because the guy is she does the throwing motion. The guy's supposed to get hit with something, but nothing ever got added. Yeah. So it's just friggin' this hand motion, and then this guy drops, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
But I never, it was at least subtle enough that you didn't notice it right away in the movie. Yeah, after seeing Knives Out, I'm like, I enjoy Rian Johnson's work. Maybe not in Star Wars, but it was still enough where I was like, you know what? I'm curious to see what he will do when it's not like, hey, I'm doing the middle part of this seemingly unplanned trilogy. Like, seeing what he can do from the ground up, I'm still curious enough.
Yeah.
But
I was thinking, I think yesterday, forget about giving Rian Johnson a Star Wars trilogy. Make him do a Knives Out trilogy instead. Like, he's much better suited to that. Do a, what's his name? Daniel Craig, what's his name? Blanc. A Blanc trilogy.
Well, apparently
that would be better.
He's got plans for a sequel if they do it, and he's like loosely had a conversation where it's like, yeah, you could do a Knives Out trilogy. Where I'm like, interesting, because murder mysteries are fun, and Knives Out was excellent.
Yeah, I've been searching for a good murder mystery for a long time. I'm looking through Netflix, like, give me a good murder mystery, and I can't find one I haven't seen.
Yeah, and those are hard to rewatch because it's like once you've seen it, murder mysteries are almost
how it ends.
Exactly. Murder mysteries are almost like comedies where it's hard to do. Like rewatch value is difficult unless it's friggin' like Airplane or Naked Gun, where it's like, no, that'll always make you laugh. The jokes will always land.
Yeah.
Jokes normally have diminishing returns. Once you've heard them, it's like that initial ha 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 is like, oh, okay, all right. Anyways, back to the list. So I'd go
back to Star Wars.
I'd go. Yeah, my number 10 and number 9 are friggin' Attack of the Clones and then The Last Jedi. Where's your Attack of the Clones? Is it roughly the same spot, just changed, or I'm curious?
Well, now that I think about it, I feel like I would do Attack of the Clones next. I was going to do Phantom Menace next. Next worse.
Right, yeah.
But I don't know. I came out of Attack of the Clones, I remember back when it came out, and I was pumped. I'm like, okay, now that was a better movie. So based on 15-year-old me's reaction, I'm going to say that Phantom Menace is worse than Attack of the Clones.
Fair. All right, so then I guess for my number 8. It's interesting because from here on out, I'm like, there's enough stuff that I enjoy in these where, or in this situation, like, as much as I might enjoy Solo more than the Phantom Menace, I feel wrong, like I'm burning Liam Neeson by putting Solo above Liam Neeson because he is so good as Qui-Gon that I'm just like, that's the thing. So these are almost interchangeable, but from here on out, I'm like, you know what? There's enough I enjoy about them that I can. Actually, no, screw it. I'll still put the Phantom Menace next, but with that asterisk of Liam Neeson is awesome.
Darth Maul is awesome.
Darth Maul is out friggin' standing. I think time has been a lot kinder to the prequels, and I'm really curious to see if time will be kind to the sequels in the same way. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, no. But, like, Ewan McGregor was really solid in it. The trade stuff and the politics stuff, you're like, what? But it's, you know what? I don't hate it as much as I did. There's still the overall flaws, but the edge I give that movie over even some of the other prequels is that one was shot a lot on location and there was a lot less CGI. And when there was CGI, it wasn't as obvious CGI. And the Naboo space battle was pretty cool. It was. I always liked the Naboo starfighters. They looked so good.
Yeah, they're cool. Yeah. You know, the thing with the prequels as a whole that has kind of developed, or we've all realized now, is that they had a lot of depth to them. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
In the prequels. A lot of payoffs, a lot of things that were set up and then paid off. Where, like, with the sequels, there's setup, and then it went nowhere with The Last Jedi, but we've discussed that already. But, yeah, the prequels aren't as bad as... They just weren't what we were expecting. And there was some really bad dialogue, really bad acting.
Yeah.
overuse, over-reliance on CGI, but storytelling-wise, they were not bad.
Yeah, yeah,
Because they had a story.
yeah. Not everything is the, wow, what do you know? Like,
Well, Obi-Wan.
not everything is the Dexter's Diner scene as much as we want to. And I think I really do think the Clone Wars show has probably helped, because that did flesh out a lot of stuff, and then you saw it, and then you're like, okay. But you still have to, in a way, separate the movies from that, because a movie should do all the heavy lifting. But a lot of the Clone Wars stuff, I think, really did answer the criticisms to Anakin and all that. Of course, you would have loved to see it in the movie, but we'll see. So what number are we on? 7? I think 7. I'd put Solo. Yeah, because we're 4 movies deep and there's 11. So I'd put Solo there. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. Solo is a lot of fun.
Solo wasn't bad at all, and it had potential to be kind of to set up a trilogy, like a not direct trilogy, but like a Han Solo, Obi-Wan, Boba Fett trilogy.
Yeah,
that would have been awesome. Would have had that common thread of what were they called, like the Crimson Jihad or whatever they were?
The Crimson Dawn. Oh my god.
The Crimson Jihad. That was True Lies.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, the Crimson Dawn. There would have been a common thread through all 3 movies.
Yeah.
Well, Darth Maul was in it, right? He would have been like the guy pulling the strings, and that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But then Solo didn't do so well, so Disney just threw it all away, which I think was a bit of an overreaction.
Well, it's so interesting when you like it really was, in some ways, better than it had any right to be, given.
Yes, nobody asked for a Han Solo origin story.
Nobody asked for it. They threw away Lord and Miller like well into production, which I would have loved to see what they would have brought. Like, if you're gonna do another Star Wars spinoff, I'm like, there can be comedy in Star Wars. There's always been comedy in Star Wars, and these guys do comedy so well because it's always character comedy. It's not, oh, hey, let's do a cell phone reception joke. Friggin' Last Jedi.
Did they do that in Last Jedi?
Yeah,
I pretty much erased that movie.
Poe called, and it was Hux.
And at the beginning,
and it's like, I thought I was talking to a little boy or something stupid. Anyways, like, I'd still love to see a Lord and Miller Star Wars movie, but throwing it away, throwing them out, refilming it with a new director, and not adjusting the release date, which, as I've listened to some podcasts recently, really pointed out that it was between friggin' Infinity War and Deadpool 2. Like, they expected it to still take the box office.
Yeah.
That they end in the wake of The Last Jedi, where, as much as people can say vocal minority and blah, 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 I think it was more than a vocal minority. Now, vocal minority were being toxic and awful people, but there was a lot of just understandable criticism from people who weren't being that vocal minority. If they had given it time, I think it would have been kinder. But given all those circumstances, it was the marketing for it sucked. It was, every time you saw it, you're like, this is not going to be good. And then
every time I was like, I have no interest in this movie whatsoever, but I'm going to see it just because it's Saturday and I have nothing else to do, and it's Star Wars.
It's a Star War.
It's a Star War. Yeah.
I'm just thinking of that Arrested Development scene where it's like, here's some money, go see a Star Wars.
Go see a Star Wars. I always think of The Simpsons. I don't know what episode it was, but at one point, Ralph says, "I'm a Star Wars," or maybe it was one of the Flander kids.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah. No, Solo was a lot of fun. They've clearly abandoned the idea of doing further movies. I wouldn't mind if they do stuff with. Maybe they'll consider doing stuff with it on a Disney Plus, because time seems to be kinder. It's starting to find its audience now, where the dust has settled on it. Yeah.
Well, maybe. Well, not maybe, but definitely with them pulling the Obi-Wan movie and making it a Disney Plus series, we kind of won as fans. Instead of getting a 2-hour movie, we get an 8-hour series.
Yeah.
Which is 4 times the Obi-Wan.
Exactly. Oh man, and that's the one people wanted. That's really the one people wanted.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because because we get sidetracked, I really think like elements of The Last Jedi would have worked better as a series instead of a bloody movie, because then you can explore all of those. Because there was like 50 bloody stories in that movie, all sandwiched in, and then also like let's go left when we think we're going right, and we're going to develop nowhere. Like Rogue One, which we'll get to, one of the things I loved about it that it introduced was, no, the rebels did shady crap, because they're a rebellion, but they still have to do terrible things. There was the annoying Canto Bite sequence, and it introduced the Benicio del Toro character, which was way out of left field and just came and went. But he did, fair enough, drop a bomb on them, being like, look, both sides profit off of war. Both sides, like, do this thing. And he's, like, the one scoundrel in it that we've seen in the movie who's, like, or in any of the movies, who's like, I'm a scoundrel, but I'm not going to have a heart of gold. I'm still out for me. Where it's like, that's weird to throw into this mess of a movie, whereas that's a character you could have fun with and flesh out in a series. So, anyways. Sidetracked.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so that was number 7. Mike, what's your number 6?
6. Oh, I'm forgetting the sequels altogether. What else was there? There was...
So we've got the original trilogy.
There was the original trilogy. There's Rogue One. And Force Awakens.
Force Awakens and Revenge of the Sith. So that's why there's 6.
Yeah. I'm going to say it's between Force Awakens and Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
I don't know which one I like better.
They're pretty interchangeable for me as well.
I mean, Revenge of the Sith definitely had, the stuff we had been waiting for. Mm-hmm. But it is also, it needed to be 2 movies.
Or a 4-hour epic.
And there was still some bad, 4-hour epic, yeah. I'm going to say I prefer... I'm going to put Revenge of the Sith as my next movie, because I prefer Force Awakens for its potential. It set up things, so it is the better movie.
That's fair. For me, it's, again, one of those day-to-day things where it's interchangeable. I think I'd put Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith as my number 6. It does have a lot of stuff that I look fondly at. People criticize the over choreographed nature of the Anakin Obi-Wan fight,
lightsaber battle,
but I'm like, I don't care. It's still, even though there's still, like, your joke is they're Tarzan swinging, it still carries all that emotional weight from start to finish. At one point they're twirling around just to force push each other, but it still has this great emotional weightiness to it that a few of the other lightsaber lightsaber battles had. And it has a lot of really, really solid moments. Yes, some of the acting is bad, and Ian McDiarmid as the Senate is wonderful, but then also very hammy. But that's the direction that's the director's fault.
Yeah, he was great until his face melted, and then he got all ridiculous. No, you will die.
Yeah, where it's just like, or even there's one or two spots before where I note in the fight with Mace Windu, he has a lot of good facial expressions, but then he has some really bad ones where, listener, you can't see, but it looks like at one point he goes like sticks his tongue out.
And you're like, he does some really weird faces.
Yeah, and now
he does like Zoolander faces.
Yeah, and some of it is like they're trying to CGI his face on and all that, and it's just like, it'd be interesting to see now if someone could rework it, because there's that great clip someone did. It's on YouTube where they redid the Anakin, the Vader and Obi-Wan fight in A New Hope. That's outstanding. And the faces, the Sir Ian McKellen, it's not Ian McKellen, Sir Alec Guinness.
Ian McKellen.
They CGI'd Gandalf.
Gandalf, what are you doing on the Death Star?
The crossover we've all been waiting. Like Alec Guinness's face on the moving body, it's not distracting. It looks real. It'd be interesting to see a modern treatment of that over this fight. If you're gonna add any more to these movies, do stuff like that, you jerks. Not McClunky or anything.
Yeah, not McClunky. McClunky. What?
What? This is the most useless addition. Why?
Yeah. That was George Lucas's final change. That was his farewell to the movies.
You subtitle it and it's thanks for the money, jerks.
Yeah, McClunky. Like, it serves absolutely no purpose.
It takes it takes further away because you're like, what the hell was that?
Yeah, you're not even focusing on Han shooting Greedo. You're just thinking, what did he say?
And what?
McClunky?
McClunky? Oh my gosh. Yeah, so number 6 is Sith. Number 5, I'd agree with you, is The Force Awakens. Like, what that movie represented and what it set up, it's still solid. So far out of the sequels, it's the best one. Now, it still doesn't do its job in setting up, like, how we've gotten here 30 years later. As much as I will read the comics and the books, I shouldn't need to do homework for the movie. The movie's supposed to do the damn heavy lifting.
Yes.
And it was A New Hope Redux. Like, visually, it looked better than the prequels. Like, the on-set locations, the special effects looked great.
Yes.
It's like, it set up intrigue. You wanted to know more about Rey. You wanted to know about Snoke instead of having the stuff thrown away, because The Last Jedi retroactively ruins everything.
Yes. Well, yeah, like when Force Awakens ended with Luke and Rey on the hill, I was so like, what comes next? Tell me now, I need to know. Like, what's Luke been doing? But no, it starts off and he just tosses the lightsaber in Last Jedi. Like, oh, well, thanks.
Yeah, it's like, and I get it. Like, fans will always have expectations. And it's not like you have to do everything to meet them, because it's never going to be exactly what we expect. Because if it is, then we'll always be like, well, you should have taken more risks. But I think there's a way to do it where you can meet expectations where it's not like, I knew this would happen, which I think Rogue One successfully did, because there was a palpable excitement, but you're also, with that movie, you're like, all right, I'm hoping for good, but also, how am I going to get invested in a movie where I know next to none of these people make it through? That's an interesting strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. Like,
exactly.
Yeah. So, Force Awakens, it's tough to revisit because, legit, for a while I couldn't revisit the prequels because of my disappointment in them, and then the good fan edits, the anti-cheese cuts, have made me be able to watch them more. It's like, here's the better versions, but let's see if I can revisit everything. The Force Awakens, I haven't wanted to, just because I'm like, The Last Jedi really soured it for me. It's soured everything.
Well, yeah, like there was it last week, I think, Walmart, I don't know if accidentally or what, but they marked down all the Star Wars Blu-rays to like $5. And there was Last Jedi. I'm like, oh, well, I don't have that in the collection, but nah, I don't need that.
Yeah, no. It's, yeah. All right, so now we're in the top 4. I'm curious, what would you put as your number 4?
I'm going to say, I kind of feel wrong saying it, but A New Hope.
Thank you! It does feel weirdly wrong to do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's the OG, right?
Yeah. So, what... I feel like this is... Like, yeah, no, this is the controversial spot. I feel like if people, for whatever reason, throw Jedi in that last place and under other stuff, and I'm like, I really enjoy Jedi. So what is it with A New Hope that puts it here? Is it flaws in A New Hope, or just there was so much, like the other 3 had so much stuff that you enjoyed more that you're like, these are just the 3 I go to more?
Yeah, it's just that the other ones are better. they're just better movies. It's not that A New Hope is bad in any way. It's just that the other 3 are better.
Fair. I think I'm in a similar boat, and it's interesting because I legit can't think of many flaws from A New Hope aside from, like, at points some of the dialogue and Lucas
McClunky.
McClunky. Like, Lucas is. And I'm trying not to turn this into a bash George, because he's been bashed enough. Like,
yes. And it turns out he's not as bad as we gave him a reputation for.
Yeah. And that's something, you know what? That's something I think, not in that prideful way, but I pride myself on when we've done Star Wars discussions. And I was talking about this with Becky from Redeemed Otaku. I'm like, hey, we might have done episodes where we, like, ranted on The Last Jedi, or especially in the wake of when I did the episode just ranting on Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I'm like, none of it's toxic, though. Like, it's all constructive criticism. We're not like, this person is the worst and deserves every attack. Yeah. It's like, none of it's personal. So I'd like to think we've done that with George Lucas, because people definitely took it way the heck too far. And then poor Ahmed Best, poor guy.
Poor really.
Jake Lloyd, poor Hayden Christensen. I can't remember the actress's name, but poor Rose.
Kelly Marie Tran.
Yeah, like these are actors just playing roles. Like, I've got issues with the characters and the writing, and at times the performance, but that's not the individual. Like, leave the person alone.
Don't hate the person. Yeah. They're just doing a job.
They're doing a job, and they're
trying to get their big break.
And they like, when you see earlier interviews, it's like there's legit excitement about being part of this.
Well, yeah, sure. They're pretty much nobodies, right? Yeah. And then they get to be in, like, the biggest saga ever.
And some of them were, like, legitimately grown up being fans of it, like having that childhood love.
Yeah.
And then it's like, hey, let's just destroy them on an emotional level.
Yeah. That's threatened to murder their family, and like okay, relax, guys. Relax. Yeah. Get out of your mother's basements and meet people and
get off of Twitter.
people.
A New Hope is a wonderful film. Again, outside of the direction out of the prequel trilogy, I'd say is the weakest, and that's not trying to keep it constructive. Lucas, I don't feel, is the strongest director Like as a story figurehead, outstanding. As a guy who shepherds the thing and creates, outstanding.
Yes.
But as a director, not the strongest.
He's a good storyteller, but not a good writer. Like he can come up with the framework and the plot points, but he doesn't know how to put it together.
Or if he does, you still need that second or third pass to be like, all right, let's fine tune some of this dialogue. Like the prequels could have used a Lawrence Kasdan rewrite.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
Because then you wouldn't have gotten like, only because I'm so in love.
That is probably the worst acting in the entire trilogy. You are so beautiful. It's only because I'm so in love.
Like, oh, what?
You're saying love has blinded me, or love has blinded you? Oh boy.
It's kind of funny though, because as much as we rag on that stuff, I also still like, we exist in a world where some of these memes bring us such joy now, where it's like, I love being in a thread where someone's talking about a beach, and then suddenly, I hate sand.
I hate sand. Yeah. It's thick and coarse and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Or just like, you'll get these great video fan edits on YouTube where it's like adding all this context, this great music, and like the fall of Anakin, and then it's like you're getting in this spot on Vader where he's thinking of Padme's death, and then suddenly it's like, I hate sand.
I hate sand.
And it's hilarious.
Or when people are having a discussion about like anything else, completely Star Wars unrelated.
Yeah.
And somebody disagrees with a common opinion, and you see it's treason then.
And there's so many good Palpatine memes, and just,
so many, yeah.
Like, that's the thing. I think that's also helped soften my stance on the prequels, where I'm like, in a weird way, they do bring me a lot of joy. Maybe not in the way they were fully intended, but...
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so number 3, I think I'd put Rogue One. I'd put Rogue One there.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Yeah,
because it's 2/3 of the movie it's just okay.
The third act is one of the best.
That's where the meat is.
Yeah. Now I still do like I'd say even the second act I still find very enjoyable because it's stopped with the planet hopping, and the first act is where we're suddenly like jumping all over the place. Like the movie's trying to find its keys and it's running around the house trying to find them. Like, when you get to the second act, it's like, okay, less planet hopping, but still, the meat and the potatoes are in the third act. The first act is like that starter salad that you don't want.
Yeah.
And then the second act is like, all right, here's kind of a dessert. Like, here's a soup. Here's a soup.
Yeah.
Which isn't a dessert, but it's like, here's a
not
soup
at
where
all.
you're like, it's all right.
Desserts do you eat?
No. I realized, like, no, dessert's the wrong analogy, so just switch it. And hope for the best. And then the third act is like a borderline steak. It is so good. The Battle of Scarif is awesome. The space battle is great. It uses nostalgia correctly, where you're getting the sprinkle of the like Gold One and those guys.
I was like, there's the whole Tarkin CGI return, right?
Yeah.
But when they put like the original Rogue Squadron or Red Squadron in, when I saw those guys, like, no way, that is the best thing ever.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you knew Tarkin was coming. Which I loved, because I thought it was very much in the vein of that Tarkin character. He added a great presence. But then those guys sprinkled in. Like, I was like, oh my gosh!
How did they do that? How did they bring them back to life? That's amazing.
And it makes sense, because this takes place like a week before A New Hope.
Not even.
Like something...
Right?
like 20 minutes. No, you get what I mean. Like
It's like 2 days before A New Hope.
yeah, exactly. Right? Like it's so good. It added stuff, and then you had really good stuff on Scarif, and it did make you about the characters. And some of them were one-note characters, but they were very enjoyable one-note characters. Like there was the gun guy who I can't remember his name. We'll call him Gunny Gunnarsson, but he was
sure.
But you still enjoyed him. Like that was it made you care about characters who you knew were going to die. And I got to give it credit there. It got you in. And then, of course, we can talk the right kind of fan service with that Vader hallway sequence. It's amazing.
Yes. That was worth the price of admission.
Exactly.
It was spot on.
I wanted to, if I had money, I probably would have gone back and said, here, take money for another ticket. I don't need to see it again. Like, that was worth double.
Like I'll call the Vader scene's about let's say 2 hours 10 minutes in. I'm gonna come back in about 2 hours and 10 minutes. I don't need to see the rest of the movie.
Exactly. Like it was so awesome, and the score was great for the second film with a non-John Williams score. Michael Giacomo, or I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Giancino? I don't know how to say his name either, but he's good. He's proven himself to be a very good composer for these modern days.
Oh yeah, and very versatile because his Trek scores are great. He knows how to do stuff where it's like blending in old themes while creating new. And his score because it didn't have much of a score except for the last the end of it. His like nod to Japanese monster movies. His piece at the end of Cloverfield is outstanding.
Oh, okay. I didn't know he did that.
But
he's done a lot. He's all over the place. He did the score for Up.
Yeah.
So it's like all those emotions you feel from the music in Up. That's him.
Yeah.
He does a lot of good stuff.
He does. All right, number 2. I feel like here on out we're gonna have the same ones, but Jedi.
Okay. I'm going to say this. Jedi, I prefer Jedi as a movie, but Empire is the better movie.
Okay.
I prefer Jedi because it has a lot of stuff I like in terms of mythology. It has a lot of the background of like Anakin's story and how the Emperor did all this, and well, not how, but like it introduces. We finally see the Emperor, and well, originally we hadn't seen him until Jedi, but they put him into Empire Strikes Back. Anyway, it just has a lot of like the world building, background, mythology that I like in stories. So that's why I prefer Jedi. Plus, the Battle of Endor. Yeah. The space battle is off the hook.
That's yeah. You know what? That's fair. I enjoy Empire more, but not because of anything Jedi does where I'd say like, well, that was worse, because we're not in a situation where it's like, well, this is worse. It's just like I enjoyed that more. It's been interesting because people talk about Jedi where like the first act is very different from the rest of the movie, and I'm like, I get that criticism. For me, that wasn't an issue. The first bit on Tatooine, I'm like, I don't see that as a different movie. Like it sets us up and sets us off, because you need them getting Han. And when people are like, well, you can chop off the first bits where it's just like Luke suddenly shows up at Jabba's palace. I'm like, but no, because it does build stuff a bit. Like you get some really good stuff there, because also Luke showing up first in the robe, force choking people. You're like, whoa, has he gone dark?
Yeah.
Like, I dig Jedi a lot. Like, people say it's the worst of the first 3, but I don't see it. And it's got the Endor space battle is outstanding. Yeah. The trooper fights on Endor itself is interesting. The Ewoks are the Ewoks.
They're all right.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, it's them adding digital blinking to it makes it a whole lot weirder for me now. Because it's something I never noticed nor care about. But then that
I didn't even notice. Yeah,
but now that you've added it, I'm like, oh, they don't blink a lot. That's weird.
Yeah.
It's in fixing it. You've made it noticeable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or it's just like, well, heck, with the New Hope edit where they added the scene with Jabba, I'm like, you don't need that. And if you do, it's like, well, he's got to step up on his tail. It's like, no, he doesn't. Just have him walk around and nobody would have questioned it.
Nobody would have questioned it.
And now it's just awkward and clunky and stupid.
It's McClunky is what it is. And there's nobody would have missed it.
Yeah.
If it wasn't there. I mean, we didn't for 20 years, right?
Exactly. And you know what? I do think Jedi, as much as I love Empire, Jedi probably has one of my favorite Star Wars moments ever. I describe it as like a solid 30 or almost minute of utter cinematic perfection. If you tweak it at all, you're taking away from it. Like from the moment, like that scene where Vader's tempting Luke and he mentions sister, and then Luke yells and the Williams score swells, and it's just like, you are in. It is awesome. Like you feel the struggle. You see Luke starting to cave. You feel the emotions of the characters of the scene. It's wonderful. It might be like one of the best moments in Star Wars, period. One of the best lightsaber fights. It's outstanding.
Yeah.
Jedi is awesome, but I still give the edge to Empire. Empire, I'm like, to me, it's a perfect film, and it's cemented itself in film history of that's what a middle chapter should be. That's like, here's your blueprint. Like, it took the. I love that in the first act, it's like, hey, the triumphant heroes that we just saw, they're getting their butt whooped, and they have to run away with their tail between their legs. Yeah. And then, guess what? As we're developing them, that never stops.
It really, like, it... I mean, obviously, we weren't around at the time when they were released. Yeah. But if you put yourself in the place of someone who was our age... our age is when we saw Star Wars for the first time, but back in the 70s. Like, if you make us 20 years or 10 years older, to go from Star Wars and for them to not just do a rehash for the second one, to go where they went with Empire, totally unexpected. Yeah. Like, it's a total, like, that's how you do a sequel. Yeah. You don't just rehash things. You continue the story and you make new problems and everything goes wrong.
Exactly. And it's like, it's so good. Like, that's the thing. Like, so much with sequels, it's all right, we got to go bigger and better, I'd say. But bigger and better often translates into like, oh, we'll do the same, just add more. Where Empire, I think, did go bigger and better, but where it's not just rehashing. Like, friggin' The Force Awakens, like, the big criticism of it is, like, I've seen this movie before.
Yeah, it follows the same beats, but I never, like, until it was pointed out to me, I never noticed that it was similar in structure to A New Hope. I was just along for the ride, hoping to see Luke do some Jedi stuff. Like, that's the thing I wanted, like, more than anything. I remember, like, maybe 2/3 into the movie, I'm sitting there, I'm like, we haven't seen Luke. Where's Luke? What's going on here? Like, I wanted to see Luke, and then, like, to set up his story and then to see him in the end and leave it as a cliffhanger like that, I was so pumped to see what would happen with Luke in Last Jedi, but they ruined the character.
Yeah. It was something I noticed, like, as the movie was going, but I'm still wrapped up. But then especially at the end, as I was leaving, I was like, old mentor figure died. Literally down to trench run. Started on a desert planet. Anyways, like, with Empire, it's funny for me because some criticism I've seen for it, it's like, well, it doesn't have a climax. It just kind of ends. I'm like, I really disagree with that. It has such... It might not be a climax like you got in A New Hope or in Jedi. It's an emotional climax because it leaves you like, what the heck?
Yeah. Nothing good has come of this.
Hold up. Vader's the father? What's going to happen to Han? Like, it leaves you wanting more, and that is a climax. That's a great climax, because Jedi at the end, you want more, but you're also like, I've got a bow on this, so I'm good. Like, give me more, but also if this is where it ends, that's fine. With Empire...
Jedi is satisfying. We're like, okay, the Empire is presumably defeated. The Emperor's dead. Like, everything worked out. Our heroes are happy. They're having a barbecue with the Ewoks. Everything's cool.
Yeah.
But, with Empire, it's just like, nothing is good about this, but in a good way.
No. It's just like, you go on a journey with that. And I love that it takes the characters, further develops them. Like, you cannot get to Jedi without Empire. Empire is such a crucial moment. And they didn't have to fix anything from it. Whereas,
if you look at what was done in the special editions, like, the only thing that was really changed in Empire was making the Wampa a little more than just like a shadowy figure. Yeah. And making Cloud City seem more expansive. And like, nothing really. Yeah. Well, it's aesthetics, really.
Exactly. It's all just mostly visual effects. Like, there was one other spot I remembered because I had the VHS versions of the special editions. Yeah. And on those, like, they do a little intro of like 5 to 10 or whatever minutes with interviews with Lucas and Rick McCullen. Where it's like, here's what we added. And Empires, it's like, well, we added to the Wampa. When the snow speeders are fighting the AT-ATs, you can no longer see the AT-ATs through the
they fix some
of the cockpit that you shouldn't see through. And they're no longer outlined in the snow because
they took away the matte lines. Yeah,
exactly. Like, that's it. And I'm like, Empire's perfect.
They just cleaned it up. They didn't change anything. Really.
Exactly. So I think that's where we're at with the 11 movies that have come out. I'm really interested to see where Rise of Skywalker is going to land.
We'll see. I'll know tonight.
I'll know.
Okay, let me just say this. Before going into the movie. If I don't see Anakin in this movie, I'm going to be very upset. Because if this one's supposedly tying up all 9 movies, and they replaced, they put Hayden Christensen as Anakin in the end of Jedi, for that to not pay off, like, it's established that Force Ghost Anakin looks like young Anakin, pre-Vader Anakin. Yeah. So if he's going to come back as a Force Ghost, bring Hayden back. Like, give him his redemption. Yeah. If he's not in the movie, I'm going to be very upset. There better be Luke, Obi-Wan somehow, Yoda's easy. If they throw Qui-Gon in there, I would lose it. Like, no way. Because it's established that, like, he's kind of... He was working his way towards Force Ghost status. Yeah. He was a voice. And then I think there was a book that came out shortly after Last Jedi, I think, or before. It was like a book. It was an anthology of tales. Right. And Qui-Gon had established physical form. Well, Force Ghost form, more or less.
So that's how they did it. They're like, we did the voices because Liam Neeson's accident. But then they're retconning something from in the Clone Wars show because he's like, I didn't get to that, but I can do this, so whatever. Yeah.
He's been working on it in the Force world.
I'm really interested. I'd love to see that stuff. I almost feel bad for this movie.
It has so much to fix, but at the same time, it has to move the story along and tell a story.
Exactly. It's in a really tough position because it has to. And I almost put the fault at the marketing for amping this up, because they're really leaning on it's the end of the saga, and I get it that it is, but at the same point, like, that raises expectations so much higher, because it's like, we're tying up everything. We're tying up 9 films, and we're redoing some of the stuff that got changed in the last movie, and then it's got to answer criticisms. It's got to answer all this. And it's in a really, really tough spot. Give me one quick sec. I just got to let Loon out.
Okay. I'm going to go pee.
All right, sounds good. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Before we hop back in, I feel like you might find this funny. I got a notification from Reddit, and I haven't seen it yet. But there was a clip, like, you know how they do little previews of other communities they recommend you join?
Yeah.
So one was... this is from Cyclops Was Right. The title is like, I have never unmatched someone so fast on Tinder. And it's a conversation between a guy and a girl. It's like, the girl says, I actually have 2 Phoenix-inspired tattoos and an actual Wolverine one. Going to get Cap and Storm someday, too. And he's like, do you think Cyclops was right? And she's like, Doucheclops is the bane of the X-Men. And then the guy writes, who the F do you think you are?
Exactly. That is the correct response.
Just so funny.
And when the X-Men come into the MCU, Cyclops better get his redemption.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like, well, he's an interesting character because he is one of those sticks in the mud that...
Yeah, he's the straight man, really.
Yeah, which you can really interpret the straight man as right or wrong. So I hope they lean into that. All right, let's take it back to Star Wars. We'll be respectful.
All right, we got to wrap this up soon.
Oh, I know. It's one final question. All right, 3, 2. All right, and we're back. So, Mike, final question, because I know you got to go in like 5 minutes. As much as you can within that time. Where do you want to see Star Wars go from here?
I don't know. I don't know. I want to go back in time and see Luke doing really cool Jedi things while he was still fairly young. That's what I want to see.
All right, that's fair. I'll say for me, like... sorry.
I don't know. I don't know where I want. I want space battles. I want lightsabers. Maybe let's go to the Old Republic. Let's do that. Seems like there's thousands of years of potential in there.
Yeah.
Potential good stories.
I'm along the lines with you. I think also where I want to see it go as a franchise period is one of the things I love about Disney Plus right now is you've got The Mandalorian, which is, I love it. It's a great show, but it's also, in a way, a very harmless little spaghetti western. It doesn't have these huge implications. It gets to be its own thing. I'd love to see that. As much as I want more Star Wars, I do want the movies to take a break, just because it's not as special as it was. And I want the films to be special like they were. So, do the shows. You could do a Luke show, be it a cartoon, or somehow do, like, Legends of Luke Skywalker and just get Sebastian Stan.
Yeah.
Bucky. Just get Bucky in.
Get Bucky to do
it. Get Bucky as Luke, because dude looks a lot like him.
Yes.
Like, you can do that, where you can do Jedi Master Luke friggin' force-throwing AT-ATs all around. Because that would have been amazing. Do that stuff. And then, do the stuff on Disney Plus, and then you can properly develop movies, because I'm not soured on it to the point where I'm like, I don't want any, but absence makes the heart grow fonder. You can do these smaller things where you can explore stuff that you don't necessarily need to in the movies. Like the Cassian show. I love that they're doing that, because I'm like, there you can really explore the shady side of the rebellion. You can develop that stuff. Heck, if you wanted to do a Kylo Ren show, I keep hearing about how great and amazing this villain is and how he's everything Anakin should have been. I'm like, I'm not seeing that. All I'm seeing is like a Vader knockoff crybaby. Like,
Yeah.
Vader at least killed younglings, and that was... Which is weird that that's my benchmark.
He did awesome things like kill children.
Like, I'm like, I was like, say what you will about the prequels, but I'm like, that moment where you see him ignite the lightsaber and the kid does that, that face that always cracks me up and weirdly, probably messed uply brings me such joy.
Yeah.
Like,
did you see the corridor edited version of that where there's like a trap door that drops out from underneath the kid, and then Padme's looking out the window and the kid splatters on the window.
Oh my gosh! Well, I remember you and I at one point we were like, I'd love it if it was just in a special edition. You see him ignite the lightsaber and then like turn it off, just kidding. But then it's like you see him force throw, and then it just cuts outside, but plays like a comedy where it's not like too grotesque, but you just see the younglings one by one flying out the window.
Flying out the window. Yeah.
Like you don't see it; it just lets you have the impact. Listener, don't think me a monster. It's just one of those things that, for whatever reason, the mental image is funny. I'm not talking about like a clown biting a child's arm off or anything. Like, just, I want to like Kylo more. I want to like Rey more. I'd love those characters to get series because then they can flesh them out more.
I think Kylo's a very interesting character. They just haven't done anything to explore his story, really.
No, and that's the thing is, as people are like, oh, he's so interesting, and that's what Anakin should have been. I'm like, Anakin was more developed than this guy is. Like, what are we talking about here?
He was poorly written, like dialogue, and he was poorly directed, but he was developed.
Exactly, and then Rey as well. Like I really enjoy the performer and the performance, and I want more of that character. And heck, even just a line of dialogue would have been like, "Look, all the light side of the Force is pouring into this character." But still, there's enjoyable stuff there, or a Finn show. Like, if we're gonna do stuff in this era, as you're figuring out what you want the next couple movies to be, do shows. That I think that's the way out. And then absence makes the heart grow fonder for the flicks. But also, you got explore the Old Republic, dive back there, or Tommy brought up on I think the last podcast we all did together. A Palpatine show could be crazy interesting.
Yes, we don't see many villain-centric shows and movies like the Hannibal show, right?
Yeah.
Like that was, from what I hear, a very good show, and it was centered around a villain.
Yeah.
So that could be interesting.
It could be very interesting. I didn't see the third season. Jill loved it, and I watched the first two seasons. I'm like, it's not entirely my bag, but that's not a quality thing. It's outstanding. Like it's very, very incredibly well made, but it's just not always something where I'm like, oh, I want to watch that. It's like, no, it's good. It's great. It's just not. There can be great things that just aren't for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like I want. It comes down to I want to enjoy these. I want to love Star Wars. Like it's been a love since childhood, and I'm just like, I don't like not enjoying it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, there was the original movies, which like I was insane about. They totally stole my heart and all my attention and consumed me like the dark side. And then the prequels came along, and suddenly Star Wars wasn't that cool anymore.
Yeah.
And then,
even though we saw each of the movies like 5 times in theaters, Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, we saw them like 3 times together.
And there was that lull as we grew up. There was no Star Wars, and then Force Awakens came out, and it's suddenly everything came back because I had all these questions. There was all this mythology. There was all this. What happened? I want to know all this story. All this love came back, and then I was so pumped after Force Awakens ended. And then Last Jedi happened, and killed everything again. Killed everything. It murdered the little boy inside of me that had reawakened.
Well, I remember the intro from when we did a couple podcasts ago, like last year, where we were talking about the state of Star Wars. And then I used your comment as the intro where you're like, I feel so betrayed.
Yes.
And I'm like,
I do.
That's accurate. And it's not intentional. Like, Rian Johnson, as much as I don't like the movie, he did not set out to, like, piss everybody off.
No, I understand, I can understand his point of view.
Yeah.
Saying, oh, well, this would be an interesting way to go, but it didn't work in the framework that he had been given.
Yeah. No, I see what he was trying to do, and it is well made. I see what he was going for. At points, I somewhat can appreciate the trying to challenge, but the framework, that's where I'm like, okay, I'm interested to see what you would do from the ground up, where you don't have a pre-existing framework to try to work all this into. That's where I'm still not ready to throw out his trilogy. I'm cautious about it, but it still might be like, nah, I'm curious. Like, let's see what you do when it's basically all you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Mike. Well, seriously, dude, thank you so much for joining. I know you got to leave in 2 minutes, so...
Yeah, I got to bounce.
Yeah, thank you for joining with us. Dear listener, thank you for listening. By the time this is posted in the new year, so hope you had a Merry Christmas and a very happy and safe New Year. Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Jedi. That actually wouldn't be a bad name.
It wouldn't. Well, Rise of the Revenge of the Jedi or something.
Rise of the Attack of the Jedi.
Rise
of the Attack of the Last Jedi. There we go.
There you go. Honest trailers, you're welcome for your ending joke right there. Rise of Skywalker will have came and went, and I'm sure conversations will abound about it, which I am both excited for and already dreading.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go in and I don't really know anything about the movie. I've only seen one of the trailers or two of the. I don't know. I've barely seen anything from it. I haven't watched any of the commercials. I'm going in pretty clean.
Yeah.
I do have a bit of a prejudice, but
and that's the thing. I'm trying so hard to separate myself from that. Where I've watched the trailers, and I remember that trailer that dropped where Palpatine hit at the end. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm excited. And
me too. Yeah.
And then since then, though, there's been some TV spots, and then just the issues I had with The Last Jedi hit again, and then I even messaged you. I'm like, that excitement's gone, man. It's come in waves, so I'm trying to separate myself as much as possible just so I can enjoy it. I want to enjoy it. That's at the end. I'm trying. We'll see if we do. But then we'll do one where we're talking about what we thought. But on that note, dear listener, thank you for listening. Mike, again, thank you for impromptuly joining us. Always great to see and chat with you.
Yeah, I know. No, it's good. It's good to see you via the internet. To talk about things.
Oh yes, and I hope you have a safe and fun trip to Ajax and a very Merry Christmas, sir.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, man.
Awesome. All right, well, dear listener, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and God bless, my friends. Take care.
Stop my recording. I don't even know if it came out. Oh, that's Spotify. I was recording. I just had Spotify open the whole. No.